and welcome back to Prof E Plays. I'm Prof E, and today we will be continuing the story of Mese Kinson as he is currently with his friend Mara, trying to investigate why it is that people are dying here. I mean, that's what it is. People are just kind of dying, uh, typically by poison, it seems. Right? We've had two people so far that have died here on this station, here at Mentorok, this corporate-run station, and so far, Mara and Mies have found that they have very little support. Enough support that they were at least, released when it became obvious that they weren't the ones who did it, but they are not getting a whole lot of support with stopping further deaths. Right. So at this point, what they have figured out, they know that it's poisoning that's happening. Now we have figured out also that this has to have happened right through effectively the replicator system. We decided that in this, or we discovered, I think might be the better way to put it, based on Oracle roles, that on this station, individuals tend to eat in their own quarters, and therefore each person has their own food replicator sort of device, but that some of them have been tampered with, resulting in the death of two people, one person being here we are, one of the engineers, an older one by the name of Cynthia Walkel, and then the other being a terrorist, actually, who is posing as an athlete. Here is somebody by the name of Sane Sonar. And so both of these people have died. Uh, and notice apparently it's not a very fast acting poison because they didn't die in their quarters, they died elsewhere. So whether it be in a storeroom or like there in engineering itself. So Mies and Mara have teased out that this is the means, that it is tampering with the system. We still don't know motive, and we don't know who would have had the opportunity to do this. Now, remember, we do have one of the things we have information about, and kind of is supposed to be the overarching storyline. There's this rogue AI that came through this station not too terribly long ago, right, and has moved on to a more populated area. We know that it's already there, has been there at least a week or so, because it would have taken it would have taken at least a couple weeks actually for the message to get from that point to Mies, where he was a couple systems away. I remember that's one of the traits of the Cepheus system, is that information does not travel very fast. Information can't really travel any faster than people can, right? So that means that if it's a couple jumps away, it's going to be a couple weeks for you to get the news. So we're kind of on our own. So the question now that we're going to face here with this scene that's coming up is, can Mies and Mara, right, tease out the exact means by which things were done? That is, was a person breaking into people's rooms, messing with the computer? Was it some oddity in the computer itself, perhaps caused by a rogue AI? Or what? Or what is it that's going on here? Okay. Now, for us to start out, I am going to roll for some inspiration. Now, remember, here we are using Covetous Poet, their book here. And in the Covetous Poet, what is it, the Solo GM Guidebook and Adventure Creator? I'm sure that I have the name all mangled. But at the very least, the way that it's designed, what they do tell you is that if you know what you want to have happen in a scene, just do that thing. But you do have kind of the three acts, right? So the first act is where we're kind of getting introduced to what's going on. Second act, we have a good sense of what we have to do. We just have to do it, and we're going to face challenges along the way. And the third act would be that grand finale, the big final scene, the showdown, where we deal with the problem and bring it to a resolution, either successfully or unsuccessfully. We are currently in Act 1. This will be Scene 7 that we are playing out. So while I may not use very much of this, I think last time I used almost none of what I rolled, but I'm going to go ahead and roll for inspiration regardless. So let's go ahead and roll up. So we are currently, because we are in Act 1, we are playing event scenes, so I need to roll 2d6, add them together, and that will tell me what type of scene we're going to be dealing with here. That's an 8. Right, so we check the table, and the 8 is a new NPC. This is great. I love the idea that there's going to be a new NPC introduced. That's the event that we're going to have. So that's our event. Now, there are also other things that they suggest rolling for with this. That is an action, a thing, I'm making notes of this. Plot device, an opposition, and a location. Okay. Now, I will probably not use all of this, to be perfectly honest. I'm also going to roll them out of order because I'll just go wherever I am in the book. Okay, so sci-fi plot devices. So this is a D1000 table. So that is one thing. If you're going to be using this tool, make sure you have those D10s ready to roll out a D1000. So 045, so 45 in terms of our plot devices. Alien ruins. Explorers come across the lost remnants of an alien stronghold or outpost. I suspect we're not going to use that one this time, but we'll see. Right, so Alien Ruins is our plot device, and then I'm just going to go backward. Sci-fi things, we should get a thing here, and it's another D1000 table. So we've got, it looks to me like 704. That's what I'm going to read it as. 704 is respite. So that's our thing, respite. Or respite, depending on your accent, I suppose. But I like respite. Actions, let's roll it again. And my actions are 323. 323 on this is eliminate. So if we put that together as action thing, it'd be eliminate respite, which that actually might be something that we end up doing perhaps with this new NPC, especially if they are perhaps a suspect or something like that. So the next thing we need is opposition, and we also need location. I think I missed the location table. Did I miss it? Oh, there it is. Yep. Let's go and roll on the location table. Location table 223. We'll just see if there's something that's relevant because we're pretty limited in terms of our location. This farmland, yeah, that's not going to be relevant. Yeah, we are. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes, the station that we are on, it's one of those. It's basically a cloud station, right? Because we have a very inhospitable, very dense um, atmosphere on this planet. So living like down on the surface is not really viable. So instead we have right like this floating station. It's not very big. It has like 90 people on it. But that is where people live. So farmland, I mean, we could stretch this to say like you know, I mean, presumably they do produce some food here, right? So it could be something like that, but I suspect they might not. They might very well just rely on their, food replication technology or synthesizers, or whatever we want to call these things. All right, so opposition then. Oh, this should be a D100. Oh, wow! I rolled 1,000 on a D1000. Okay, we'll call that a 100, which would be wreckers, scavengers, or a tragic villain. So wreckers, scavengers, or a tragic villain. All right. So the first thing I want to check before we, get into this, remember we're trying to figure out who it is that tampered with these replicators. I'm just curious, before we get too far, has somebody else died since our last session? Let's roll it. I'm going to say it's a 50-50 shot, which means if I roll under 50, the answer is yes. So 48. 48 would be a yes, definitely. So I'm going to go ahead over here. So even 48 is a yes. All right, so let's find out who it was that died. So I guess first, are they male? Roll that. 20 would be a yes. So I'm going to pull one of my male names here. Look for one I haven't used yet. So men here, we used Dane Wright. We've not yet used Jose Brezal. So tell me a little bit about Jose. Well, let's go roll on the D66 table because I have a D66 table here, right, for patron encounters. So those would be give us a pretty good sense of various jobs that people might possibly have. I could do that, or I could use a random encounter. Either one, it really doesn't make much difference. So D66 table, you roll 2d6 and read each die separately. So 4 or 5. I'm just going to say I have a choice between these two, either a reporter or somebody in the Navy. Um, hmm, which one would I rather have? I'm gonna say, Well, actually, let's let the Oracle decide because I don't want to have to spend too long. So I'm going to say if it's under, so is it a reporter? So 50 or under, it's a reporter. Yep, so he's a reporter. And what's his skill level? And it really doesn't matter because he's dead, I suppose. But this would give us some sense of reputation. So remember, the way that we do the quick skill level is that we just roll a d6, subtract 3, and then that would be the modifier in any relevant rolls. So 4 minus 3, so he's a +1 reporter, so he's a little bit above average. Uh, and for somebody who like made a profession of this, he was probably fairly young at this particular job. So that's my guess here. Right, but at the very least, he is found dead. So let's just double check. Was this poison? Right. So naturally, some time is going to pass as this is going to be evaluated. We would naturally have access to this information. Was it poison? Since we were helping with the investigation, I'm going to say extremely likely. There we go. 43, absolutely. So again, poisoned. All right. So our next step then, right, we now have a third victim. Right? All of them poisoned, and this is definitely evidence that somebody is messing with uh, the food synthesizer replicator system. So the question is, right, was this somebody like like a human being that is trying to kill these three people? In which case we need to find a connection between the two, right? Or was it an AI system that was doing this? And again, we need to find a connection between these three people. Right. So before we noticed that the two previous victims were both women. This is no longer true. Right now we have somebody who is a man as well. So apparently it's not just. I mean, I get in my mind Silence of the Lambs, Buffalo Bill, that kind of thing. Right. It's targeting women and that kind of thing. That apparently is not the case here. Okay. So where do we go next? Now we have a new NPC. Now, I'm going to say that this reporter, the dead person, is not the new NPC. So here's what I'm thinking in terms of this new NPC and who they are going to be. I think it makes sense at this point. We really need somebody that's actually like good at computers because neither Mies nor Mara is really in their skill set. Like if you check, like Mies does have a full character sheet, and you see here, computer. He doesn't have a computer skill, which means because he does have 1 point of jack of all trades, if he does anything with computers, he's at a -2, and -2 penalty. And I guess we can add intelligence into that, or yeah, either intelligence or education. Doesn't really make much difference. Once you get outside the physical stuff, He's is very average, right? He's a big guy, right, fairly strong, right, good endurance, reasonable dexterity, but he's one of those people. It's IQ of 100, right? He's not an idiot, but at the same time, he's not like super intelligent either. So, computer, he just doesn't have much training on. He can stumble his way through it, but not great. Right? So, odds are, if he has to do anything complicated, it's really not going to work very well. So it makes sense. We want to hunt down somebody who is good with computers. That would be our new NPC. So let's find out who that is. Okay, so our new NPC. First thing I want to know, like, so this is going to be somebody who I'm specifically seeking out, a computer expert. I assume then, and it just makes sense, that this is going to be somebody that's here on the station, or that works for the corporation, most likely. So I'm going to say it's somebody who works for that corporation. Unless it's somebody visiting, which I guess is a possibility. Uh, let's say that it's extremely likely that they work for the corporation and roll it. So if it's 95 or less, yeah, it's 85. So it's a good thing I said extremely likely, or it wouldn't have been. All right, so they work for the corporation. Let's see, are they male? 50-50. Comes up 51. So I suppose that is a no. It's a fairly weak no. Right, so we have here a woman. So we need a woman's name. So pull from our woman's name list. Where I got this list, I really just I found a random name list that would created random sci-fi names of all things, right? So that's where these names are a bit odd to me, but okay. Cathia Scamperts. All right, Cathia Scamperts. Okay, and she is the computer expert that we managed to make some contact with. So now, an important question: how skilled is she? 3, very average. You know, So this is somebody who has not necessarily been in this job very long. It doesn't have a lot of education with it, but is at least not taking a penalty on any of these roles. So that's good. I also want to find out like what is. We need to come over here a bit. What is her general like personality like? So we can come over here. Nope, this is not it. Oh, or there's the name that I'm using. Adventure Creator and Solo GM Guidebook. That's it. Okay. So I need to roll a D50. So I roll a D100 and cut it in half. Yeah, we've got 26 as a 13 then. So you divide. 13 is cantankerous or stoical. Okay, so somebody who's not going to be particularly friendly to us. All right. And then we want to find out. So conversation chart. So I just want to know what is the general attitude. So this is somebody, she's a stranger. She's probably inclined to be unfriendly if she is naturally cantankerous or even stoical is probably not going to be particularly warm with us. Right, so let's go ahead and roll on this table for the conversation chart. So we need to roll 2d6. 8. Right, so it's going to be one of the more common answers. Disagreeable. So the general attitude in this conversation is disagreeable. All right. So Mese and Mara, they do some investigating, and they find out that if they want to talk to a computer expert, the best person they can talk to that they actually have access to on the station is Kathia Scampert. However, when they get there, she's not particularly old, not particularly young. I'm guessing she's probably like in her mid to upper 20s, something like that. She is clearly not in a great mood. It appears she's having a bad day or something like that, is what it feels like at first. We don't know if this is a general attitude or not when we're first meeting her, but she's at least disagreeable. And so they're asking her for a favor. They would like her to see if she can look into uh, these I think it's food synthesizer sort of systems, to see if we can get some more detail of exactly how these things were modified. Here would be the good question. That is, where was the programming modified from? Was this modified from like some central location, right? Or was it modified right, from like within their quarters? Because if it's within their quarters, then that suggests that there is in fact an individual person who's going around doing this. But we first need to convince Gathia Scamper to actually do this right for us. So let's see how we can do with that. Right, so we're going to do a social roll. I would say that neither of our characters are great at this. And this is just like a general social roll because the various things here, carouse might possibly be close. I mean, look, I'm going to pull out here. I have the book here, a physical book on hand. Uh, which I think is going to be a little bit faster for me to turn through. So on page 50, I just have the system reference document here. Right, so it says carousing, interpersonal art of interacting and socializing with others, art of small talk, making others feel at ease in their presence in almost any social situations, such as a party, ball, inauguration, bar hopping, and so on. That's it's not immediately obvious that that's what it should be, but at the same time, it's not obvious what else it would be instead. You're trying to scroll with the mouse and it doesn't really work. All right. So, I mean, like liaison is generally in a much more official capacity. So something like no brokers when you're negotiating. Liaison, no, liaison is much more about like protocol and that kind of stuff, right? So this is somebody that helps like making a deal happen. Oh, Oh no, here. Liaison, it actually specifically says for influencing others, you can change others' attitudes with a successful check. In negotiations, participants roll opposed liaison checks to see who gains the advantage. Opposed checks also resolve cases when two diplomats are engaged in negotiations. So liaison might actually be the more relevant here, which is very bad. As we said before, Mises is 0 in social, and then doesn't have any liaison. So he's going to be rolling at a -2, even if we consider this to be kind of an average task. But I think that's probably fair here. We're trying to negotiate with her to get her to do something outside of her typical job description. So yeah, let's do it. Remember, you need a total of 8. We're rolling at a -2. This is probably not going to work. I'm just hoping it doesn't go abysmally. 8, yeah, 8 -2 gives us a 6. Right, so yeah, we failed by 2, and that's not awful, so it's not like she's gonna kick us out of her office or anything like that. But she's definitely disagreeable, and her attitude has not changed, right, toward us. So she's, "No, I'm not, why would I? Why would I help you? I have no reason to help you. I have other things that I need to do. There are things happening on the station. I have a job that I need to do. So leave me alone," is effectively her attitude. So what are we gonna do? Well, I guess now the problem is that she's busy. So we might be able to do some of this investigating ourselves, but again, we have the problem that neither Mies nor Mara really know much about computers. Right? So this is going to be an issue. But I guess we can make the attempt, right? And we'll see what happens. Right? So okay, fine, right? Can we at least, right, use the console, see if maybe we can figure something out with this. Again, at a -2, we're going to be rolling. 9 -2, 7. Uh, the answer here would be no. Right? However, this is also the kind of thing where, like, one of the traits of the system, right, is that these roles, I kind of implicitly do this, right? They technically take time, right? And like, if you really wanted to play the system strictly as written, what I would do is say, well, we just did this roll. How long did it take for that roll? Well, we're going to say that I'm going to spend, say, 1d6 hours doing this. So I roll, right? So it took an hour. Right? So we spent an hour doing this. We didn't really have much success, and we didn't ruin everything either. But one of the options available to us is to try to take more time, right? So what that really means is, because you have a number of possible steps, I'll go ahead and inform you about that. Okay, right? There's the option here. Right? So outside of stressful situations like combat, performing a particular task often takes a random amount of time depending on circumstances. For most tasks, you roll a d6 and multiply by the increment the referee provides for that action. Um, However, right, there is this option, which I don't see listed here, for taking your time, which I don't, it's not listed, but I know that there isn't. That option is given here somewhere. Okay. Oh, well, I know that you can also try again. That's also an option. Um, well, I knew that there was somewhere in here that you could actually modify based on how long it took, but I can't find that in the rules right now. Oh well, so let's just say that, well, okay, so if we spent an hour doing it, we didn't have much success, so we're going to try again. Right. Again, we're operating at a -2, so we'll roll again. 6, so a 6 is also not going to work for us. Oh, sorry, I need to roll that. So spend another 3 hours on it. So we've spent 4 hours at this point. We're really just not making much progress as far as that goes. Right. So let's say right now, where are we in the day? I mean, they're probably halfway through the day. So let's say we have another 4 hours here that we could effectively do this work. We could stay up a little bit late, so I'm going to give us at least one more roll. And so we'll roll again. 9, again, not quite good enough. And roll here. That only took another hour, so you have another 3 hours. Right, roll again. 7, we're just not getting there. Okay, another hour, so we have another 2 hours. Right, so roll it again. Snake eyes. That's real bad. What that mean? I mean, like, snake eyes by itself doesn't really mean anything, because that we don't have automatic failure, automatic successes in the system. What it does mean is that there is this case of what we call an exceptional failure, and that is if you end up missing your effectively, if you have a -6, or rather, if you miss your target by 6 or more, then you have what we would call an exceptional failure. So in this case, remember what I would have rolled here. I mean, add it all together. So I have 2 -2. So I'm at a 0, when what I needed was an 8. This is an exceptional failure. What that means is There need to be some kind of significant consequences now. Well, before we do that, though, let's find out how long that took. 2 hours, right? So we're hitting basically the end of the working day, something like right around dinner time. We totally mess things up. This is a serious problem, right? So what is this serious problem that's happened? So I want some inspiration here. Um, let's see. Actually, okay, here is where we can come in and use one of the things that I rolled earlier. Eliminate respite. So what would that mean? I'm thinking that right now something happened. We set off station alarms. Don't know how we did it. We set off station alarms. So now anybody who's trying to get any rest, though probably not a whole lot of people because I mean it's dinner time, right? But blaring alarms all over the station at this point. That's real bad. Right, so we can actually hear from where we are working here in the station. We're working here next to Kathy as she is trying to do her job. She's probably packing up, getting ready to leave. Alarms start going off everywhere. She's like, "What did you do?" Right, and I imagine that she fairly quickly can get things turned off. Let's just double check that. So I think it's extremely likely that she can just turn this all off. Right, 95. Okay, it's good it was extremely likely, otherwise she wouldn't have been able to. Right, so we just barely right hit the yes. Right, so she does manage. It doesn't take her too long. Let's see how many minutes. Say that it takes 4 or 5 minutes, something like that, to get things turned off. In the meantime, like the station is all a roar. Like, what is this alarm? Everybody's on edge. She manages to put an announcement and tells us, "Y'all need to leave. Like, just go home for the night. We are done." Right? So we do. We leave. We go home for the night. This was totally not a very successful day as far as that goes. Uh, so we pick up the next day. The next day, is anybody else dead? Again, I'm going to make this 50-50. Ignore the die over here. 70, no. So fortunately, nobody died overnight. So we go back here with Gathia. I assume that she is not particularly happy with us, but I'm going to try to convince her again. This time, I think that we actually have something in our favor. Right? So something that will help us. Uh, and we can get a bonus on this check then for this. I'm going to give myself a +1. Because if a character has help, good tools, competent aids, or other beneficial circumstances, he receives a +1 bonus. Here's the bonus. Carthian knows that we already screwed this up, so we don't really have a good idea what we're doing, right? So he is going to try to social her, right? So again, right, social liaison, so it would naturally be at a -2, but it's only going to be at a -1, which means if he rolls 9 or higher, then we're good to go. So what have we got? Tried to convince her. No, no, she's not having it. She's like, no, no. And there's only a few seconds of conversation, so I'm not going to bother rolling for time. No, I have things to do. Try not to screw things up like you did yesterday, is basically what her answer is. Right? So she is working at her computer, very cantankerous, this Scythia is. Right? Meanwhile, Mies and Mara, neither of whom really know what they're doing, right, are at the next station trying to piece through how things are working. So let's try it again. Right, so we'll re-roll a 4. 4 minus 2 gives us 2. We're trying to go for 8. Serious consequences are going to follow. And what have we got? So it took all morning. So we're about lunchtime, and again, we seriously messed something up here. So I'm wondering exactly what it is we messed up this time. Let's roll an action and thing, because I think I need some more inspiration. So my two numbers here, I'm just going to roll for the numbers first. It's 299 and the other number 299 and 198. So look for the action. Oh, complication. No, 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 that's not. No, but I like that though. Yeah, let's do that. Right, so the complication is 299, false accusations or lost equipment or items. Okay, okay, okay. So I know what we can do with that. Right, so false accusations don't necessarily make sense, but lost equipment or items, I'm not going to say lost, I'm going to say broken. Right, so that whatever we did, right, we were trying something and we fried out, right, part of the computer system. Right, so now the question is this going to cause like serious problems, like life-threatening problems? Or is this just another thing where we're just annoying the heck out of Kathia? Right, so let's see. Let's see. So is this life-threatening? I'm going to say probably not. I'm going to say it's very unlikely, so we'd have to roll 25 or less for this to be something life-threatening to people. 43, so it's not really life-threatening. It is just, again, an annoyance, right? So some, I don't know, hard drive or something like that, something that's not totally essential. We should actually, hard drives are probably essential here. Um, so some non-essential chip or something got burnt out, right? So we're gonna have to wait a little bit. That makes sense, right? So how long is it gonna take for Kathia to fix this? Well, first, let's actually roll this as if she's doing the fixing. So remember, she is at a +0, she needs 8 or higher to repair. 5. So that first attempt, right, took 3 hours. So most of the afternoon here, no success. Then more of the afternoon, in fact. Okay, at least it's not an exceptional failure, right? Because she's at a 0, not a -2. I need to keep that in mind. Right, so she's at a 0, and we miss again. Another. Okay, so she is staying like way late, right? Trying to fix this thing that we broke. Right? She is not at all happy with us. We go to bed again. So at this point, we've had 2 days, right, trying to figure out what's going on here. Meanwhile, did somebody else die? 50-50. Yes, someone else turns up dead. Okay, let's see. Male? 94. No. So it's another woman. So, what is this person's name? Uh, July Cart. Let's find out about her. So I'm going to roll on that 66 D66, patron slash random encounter table. Because I really like that of giving myself both of those options. Right, so 9. Oh, no, it's not 9, it's 6-3. So 6-3, either a trader or technician. Technician makes perfect sense. Okay. Right, so this is somebody who works as a technician here. How skilled, right, was she? Not great. At a -1. All right. Just to make sure, was she poisoned? I'm going to say at this point that's extremely likely. Right, so it's 95 or less. Yeah, absolutely. Also poisoned. It's a fourth person dead here on the station. Now, this is 4 people out of roughly 90 that are here on a permanent basis. Now, another thing we need to keep in mind is that our time, right, eventually the ship that we came in on is going to want to leave. Now, often they will stay docked for about a week. At this point, we've been here, I'm going to say, well, we've spent 2 days working on this, probably a day before that, maybe two. So I'm going to say we're 4 days in. So we have 3 more days before we are going to uh, either have to just leave, right? uh, or or we're going to have to like wait for another ship to come. This is not a very big place. I mean, let me show you. Come up here on the map, right? So they probably see fairly frequent travel because they are kind of. It looks like a hub connecting these various places, but at the same time, right, okay, Panther, Hadarana, these are reasonably sized. Right? So you see E starport, that indicates that this is a fairly primitive, kind of a frontier starport. X over here for Loradius, they actually don't have a starport there. E is another small one up here at Thyrsius, right? So, like, really the thing that we are connecting, if you really trace it out, we are connecting Tangan, which it looks like, I think this is a naval base, or I mean, no, it's a scout base. Scout base here, that's a B level for its not technology, B level for its starport. We're connecting that to Channel Gulls, where it does look like we have another scout base. There are lots of scout bases around. Oh yes, a star. Star is what it looks like when you have a naval base, right? So, like that is kind of what is being connected here. Oh, because Channel Gulls is on the way to Piathos. Piathos, that's it. So generally, what you'll do is you connect. Anything that has an A, you want to connect to any B through whatever path is possible. So those come from Tangan, Pathos are going to come through Montauk. So you will see some traffic here, But I'm going to say it's not particularly frequent because if you have a big enough ship, you can do a jump of two, which means then you wouldn't necessarily have to stop here. Right? So you could, and you'd almost certainly want to jump over Uma because um, it's in an amber sector, which means that there's something dangerous about this sector, so it's generally warned away. Right? So you jump over this, come to Panther. You might jump over here, 'cause at least there's a scout base here, and then up to Piathos. So it's believable we would see some traffic, but not a whole lot necessarily. All right. So anyway, where were we? Yes. So July Cart is dead. So we have, I'm going to say, 3 days left to try to solve this problem. Okay. Well, let's try it. I'm gonna see. I really feel like I saw somewhere in here that there was the option of trying to take your time and oh, going faster or slower. That's it. Like I was just looking at the wrong place. So going faster or slower. So what this does, right? So it says moving up, that is reducing your time increment, gives you a -1 modifier for every row you move. Moving down and increasing your time taken gives you a +1. So I'm right now operating at a -2. So if I, instead of measuring in hours, measure in days, oh goodness. I think I'm better off measuring in hours. Honestly, I don't think that the benefit of that is going to be worth it, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it will be. All right, so let's go ahead and keep rolling then. All right, so we start the next morning. Again, I think I'm going to make the attempt. Again, just take a few seconds. Try to convince. Okay, please, we've messed stuff up twice. You were up super late. Please just help us out. Again, I'm going to roll it. Because technically it'll be a -1 once you put all the modifiers on. So if I roll 9 or higher, she is convinced. I'm rolling terribly today. What in the world? It's, so I'm off by 3. So yeah, she is not convinced. She's like, no, I have other work to do. If you break something, I can fix it. I fixed it before, twice. I'm going to do other stuff. She is not very helpful. I'm not particularly liking Kathia right now. She seems kind of cantankerous, or at best, stoical. All right, so I guess it's up to me, Mara, to try again. Right, so remember we're operating -2 here, so we would need to roll a 10 or higher. Statistically, at some point, we have to, right? I mean, oh, gosh. All right, first roll for the day. 5. It's just a typical failure. How many hours do we put in for that one? 2. So 2 hours frittered away. Try again. 5. There in another 5 hours. So last roll for the day. 6. Another 2 hours. Right, so we're here till a little bit after standard dinner time. We go back home. All right. So we've spent 5 days on the station. We're trying. We're not making much progress. Is there another way that we can try to handle this? So what is it, right, that we are actually good at? Right. So what a question, right? What is it we are actually good at? Okay. Well, let's take a look. So, I mean, obviously, piloting is not going to be relevant here. I mean, that just isn't going to help, right? But no, but other things we could possibly have helpful. Let's see. All right. So recon. What is? Might it be that having some kind of? I just want to check. Scouting out dangers, spotting threats, unusual objects, or out of place people. That might be worthwhile, actually. Right, so I could see that. Similarly, comms or now, electronics is different than computer because right now we're not dealing with the physical stuff. Oh, that would have meant that we probably could have helped put the thing back together, couldn't we? Well, oh well. Have to keep that in mind for the future. Okay, so anyway, so having forgotten his own skills. Okay, sure, whatever. Right. Okay. So what are we gonna try now? I mean, this we're in a rough spot. Let's be perfectly honest. We are in a rough spot here. Okay. So I think that maybe what we can do, I'm going to go ahead and say that he's going to try to do some good old-fashioned recon, and that so the next day he's just going to spend the entire day trying to see if somebody here is acting suspicious. Right. So first, does anybody show up dead this morning? No. 89. All right. So we're just going to do a basic recon. So this is at +0, so we're just rolling, we just have to roll straight up 8 or higher, and then we can identify either yes or no that there is some person here that is acting suspicious. Right, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and roll it. Is there a person here acting suspicious? Let's see what we can find out. Roll it. 10. Awesome. Right. So that means we successfully reconned today, which means then that we can know. I'm going to say that this means this next roll, it's going to be an oracle roll. It will determine, is there a person here who is acting suspiciously such that Mese would think this person very well may be somebody who's hacking into these systems and killing people. Right, so that is specifically what he was looking for, using his recon abilities that he had developed through the scouts. Right, so let's go ahead and check that. What do I want to say? I'm gonna say it's a 50-50. I don't actually know. 29. There is such a person. Okay. So, using recon, our friend Mies just identified a likely suspect. So there's somebody here who's acting shifty. So the first question I want to know is this somebody we already know? Right? Again, no idea. 50-50. 67. No, so it's not a character to whom we've already been introduced. So I guess we'll say, are they male? 24. Yes. So go to the next name on my mail list. All right, and it is Jerry Yornes. Which is this person's name? Right, so Jerry Yornes. So I'm wondering what tipped him, what is it that tipped him off? So let's see. Um, After observing this person, I want to know, um, what do we know about him in terms of like his identity? 44, right? So he is either a religious pilgrim or a merchant. Oh, I like merchant. I like merchant on this one. Right. So he is somebody, I'm going to say, who came in, right, on the same passenger ship we did. So he is not from around here. And that would actually line up the timing because, right, remember, like, people started dying shortly after we got here. So I'm going to say, yeah, Jerry Ornez, this merchant, I started messing with people's systems. Now, this means he probably also has some hidden computer skills or whatever. Right, so 3, so his overall skill level is a 0 in terms of merchanting at the very least. But that doesn't mean that he isn't responsible for what's happening here. Okay. Right, so I'm thinking like this is somebody. Okay, so I need to figure out what their motive is. So why is it that he would do such a thing? Okay. Good news. We have the option here. There's no, not themes. A motivation chart. So let's go ahead and roll this. It's a D1000. Its motivation is 830. Shelter or taking power. I think taking power makes sense. We know this is a corporate station, right? So here's the question, right? So we have some evidence, or at least some suspicion, that it's Jerry Ornaz, right? Right. So this is just from kind of looking around. He's acting real suspicious, right? I'm going to say, can we confirm this? So this is a very specific thing that we are asking Gathia to do for us. So I'm going to say that's going to change the difficulty of the task. So changing the difficulty of the task, by the way, makes it naturally easier. So the way this typically works is that if a task is considered average, right, then that would be where we use that, just standard 8. We don't have any automatic modifiers to happen. But on the other hand, if the task is something that's, say, routine or easy, then you get automatically +2 or +4 or even a +6 if it's super easy. Of course, in that case, if it's what we'd call a simple task, then you don't bother rolling it. So here, Kathia is mad at us, so I think that's going to affect the difficulty a little bit, so it's not just simple. But I want to see if she can check security camera footage to see, do we actually have confirmation that Jerry has been going into these people's rooms and modifying, or at least entering their rooms. We probably don't have security cameras inside everybody's quarters, I'm guessing, especially because the law level here isn't particularly high, so I don't think it's not like a surveillance state kind of deal here. So I think this is something to be fairly easy, especially for somebody that works with these computers all the time, right? So the question is how easy it to convince her of it. So I'm gonna okay. So this is something that I think normally would take a very short conversation, something in the realm of kiloseconds, right? A kilosecond, it would just be, I mean, 1,000 seconds, I guess. Oh, that that sounds wrong. This is something that would be measured in minutes, right? So, can I take some time to really try to convince her? I think that just annoy her. So I don't think that's going to make sense. I don't think it's one of those things where I can just take my time to get a plus one modifier on it. Uh, okay. So I guess I'm just gonna have to try to convince her the best I can. I would naturally be at a -2, but I think this is going to be relatively easy because it's not a big ask, right? So I'm going to say it's at a +2 here, right? Check the security cam footage for us. Oh, seriously. Okay. Right. So because this is easy, that gets modified up to a 6. So it wasn't a disaster. But he's like, no, I don't think I will. I don't think I will. Fortunately, this is something we can try ourselves. Thanks, Kathia. Right. So we're gonna check the security camera footage. This is a 7. We get a +4 -2. So we are at net +2. Yes. Okay. So we do manage, and it takes a little while because we don't actually know what we're doing. I'm gonna say it takes like 3 hours. So most of the morning we're spending checking the security camera footage for the like outside of the rooms of our 4 victims. Right? So we had Cynthia, we had Sane, we had Jose, and we had just now July. Right? So we checked those all that footage. I'm going to say it's extremely likely that Jerry Ornaz is going to appear for each of these. 26, yeah. Yeah, he's there. Right, so we've just proven opportunity. Right, so you you entered all of the quarters of the victims. All right. Um, we don't know his motive at this point, except I mean, like we don't know his motive as Mies and Morrow. Now we, as the one who's rolling on tables, we do. We know it's something about taking power. He's interested in taking control of the station, commanding the resources that it has. So I'm guessing maybe this, and it's very possible that what happened under the surface was that he approached each of these people maybe to help him out in some way, right? Because who do we have, right? We have an engineer, right? We have a terrorist who's posing as an athlete. We have a technician. We have a reporter. And so all of these people that have some potential ability to get him something, right, that is going to help him take over control of the station, whether it be technical specifications from the engineer or the technician, or whether it be, I mean, munitions or whatever it would be from the terrorist, right, or also from a reporter information about some of the shady dealings because this station feels kind of shady, right? So all of these have the possibility of moving him forward with being able to take control of the station in some way, of making it so that the corporation that currently is running it doesn't find it worthwhile to continue doing so, puts it up for sale, lets him get it. Okay, so that is what I think is actually going on here. So, having figured all of that out, right, we need to take him down. So the question is, right, Is he going to resist this? I don't know. I really don't know. Right? We're in a relatively small station. Right? There aren't very many people on the station. People are also going to be relatively crowded. So is he really in a position to try to resist uh, Mies and Mara working together to try to attack him? Well, I think so. The question is this, right? Are we going to take him down ourselves, or are we going to hand this all over to station security? I mean, it makes sense. Let's hand it over to station security. That's the obvious thing here. Like we are not the security force. We were just, kind of brought in to help deal with this. So let's go to Dane Wright, right, who was the one who first arrested us, right, and then said, "Oh, well, let's find the real killer." We're just going to give this information to him. That makes perfect sense. So we hand the information to him, and then it's really up to him to decide what to do with it. So the question is, right? First, is Dane going to go after this person? I think that's extremely likely because eventually news is going to start to get out, and if the station doesn't do anything about it, this is going to look real bad for him. So even though he's not particularly good at it, celebrity here, right? Celebrity, he cares, right, about this. And he may be cruel, but he's also egotistical. He doesn't want to look bad, right? So I'm going to say it's extremely likely 95 or less. Yeah, 57. So yeah. So we're definitely looking at. Uh, he's going to send somebody to arrest him. Now, is he going to ask for our help? That seems somewhat unlikely because he really wants this to be not a Mies and Mara show kind of thing. Instead, he wants this to be something that like the station personnel, representatives of the corporation have done. So I'm going to say this is extremely unlikely. It's only on an O5 or less. Yeah, so it's O8. So even though that's really low, right, so I'm going to say he seriously considers it. But no, he decides, no, this is something that station personnel, station security should handle. Thank you for your help. You may be on your way. So at this point, I'm going to say that we have completed this particular task. Right, so we have a couple days to rest here before we continue on our way. So the question that I want to face before we do that is is Mara going to continue traveling with Mies? Because they don't really have much reason to, as far as that goes. But she might. I mean, we are heading toward one of the most populous places. If she is, in fact, a drifter, being there, that might be a good place to panhandle, that kind of thing. Right, so yeah, I'm going to say I don't know. 50-50. 32. That's a yes. All right. So, what's happening now? We have that was the end of Act 1, Scene 7. The following scene, Act 1, Scene 8. We will be leaving this planet, so it'll be a couple days later, and we are going to be embarking on a new trip from Mentorok to Tentacles. As for now, I'm going to call it there. So, this is Profi at Profi Plays, signing off.